Welcome one and all to another Most Amazing Top 10 video. I do hope you're doing well. I'm just doing dandy. Thanks very much for asking. My name is Danny Berg and I've been looking at some pretty scary gangs from all over the world recently. There's a lot of them out there, too many to count in fact, but I've tried to narrow them down a bit for you today with our top 10 most dangerous gangs ever. If you're sitting comfortably, then we're going to kick things off now with our number 10, the Yakuza. The Yakuza are Japan's most notorious gang. With over 100,000 members, the gang is at least 150 years old and has an iron grip on the territory it holds. Despite members using extortion, fraud, blackmail, drugs, violence and the media as forms of control that earns them $6 billion a year, they're technically not an illegal group. They have deep ties with politicians and the government is very cautious about driving them underground where they won't be able to monitor or regulate them. Some people say it's how freely and openly they can operate that actually makes them so dangerous. Moving on to number 9 now, we have the Mungiki. This is one of Kenya's most brutal gangs. Little is known about them, but what is known is that they hold on to large parts of Kenya through violence and extortion of civilians, and they aren't afraid of the law punishing them either, because they've also been responsible for killing hundreds of police officers over the years. The gang mainly attracts the young and the poor to its ranks, often those who lost their communities to tribal clashes during the 1990s. Once they're in though, death is the only way out. Like other mafia-style gangs around the world, they swear an oath of secrecy, and those that disobey often have their heads cut off and left in public view on the spot where the dispute happened. Next up at number 8 now, we have the Crips. This LA gang originated in the 1960s as a form of defense against other gangs in the area and has since gone on to gain a reputation for two things. Firstly, their crimes of murders, drug dealings, pimping and robberies, and secondly, their bitter and bloody rivalry with the Bloods, another LA-based gang. There are a number of theories out there floating around about their name's origin, but one is that it comes from the word Cribs and was chosen to reflect how young many of the original members were. They're well known for wearing blue clothing, although this practice has died down over the years as police were actually using that knowledge to easily identify the members. And now at number 7 we have got the Aryan Brotherhood. This white supremacist prison gang formed as a reaction to the desegregation of US prisons during the 1960s. As prison gangs began to form around racial lines, the Aryan Brotherhood's racist ideology could most easily be seen in their entry rules. To join, a prisoner has to kill a black or Hispanic inmate, which resulted in the phrase blood in, blood out. The group's 5,000 strong members both inside and out of the prison system are often seen with Aryan Brotherhood tattoos and Nazi symbolism all over them. Over the years, their aims have shifted to include drug trafficking, racketeering and extortion, as well as their original plans of racial violence. Alright, coming in at number 6 now, we have the Bloods. This LA gang was originally formed as a reaction to the growing power and murders conducted by the Crips during the early 1970s. Several gangs who felt bullied and victimized by the Crips banded together and called themselves the Bloods, a reference to gang members referring to each other as Blood. Now despite this new alliance, the Bloods were still outnumbered 3-1 by the Crips and resorted to increasing violence to stake their turf. Eventually this growing feud led to a bloody battle with both gangs wrestling for control of the local cocaine distribution. One former gang member even described the gang's ultimate goal at the height of their power was to create as many funerals as they possibly could. Alright, next up on our list now at number 5, it's the Sinaloa Cartel. With an estimated revenue of $3 billion a year, the Sinaloa gang is Mexico's largest drug cartel. They started out trafficking drugs on the streets throughout Central America for other gangs, but eventually came out as the dominant power in the region. They've been a key part of the drug war that's been going on in Mexico over the decades that has killed tens of thousands of people as gangs and government have clashed on an almost daily basis. Despite the Mexican president declaring war on this cartel in 2006, the body count has barely fallen since then, and some have even accused the police and government officials of working with the Sinaloa cartel, most notably when its leader, the notorious El Chapo, escaped for the second time from Mexico's maximum security prisons. Alright, at number 4 now, we have the 18th Street Gang. This gang has its roots in El Salvador, but they get their name from their origins at 18th Street and Union Avenue in LA. They're thought to have an estimated 15,000 members in up to 20 different sub-gangs. They're known for their intricate tattoos and beating members for 18 seconds who show disrespect. Their many activities, including drug dealing, burglaries and theft, have seen them can rack up a body count of over 250 in the past decade, and with their influence continuing to spread across America and beyond, that number is expected to rise. Okay, for our number 3 now, we've got the Russian mob. It's estimated that the Russian mafia controls 40% of the country's economy, which is insane. Their origins can be traced back hundreds of years to groups of bandits and thieves, but from these petty crimes they have grown to control vast amounts of money, drugs and politicians from all over the world. That last one, their link with corrupt politicians, is what's thought to be responsible for all of their power. They have deep connections with corrupt governments and law enforcers. This allows them to work from the street level all the way up to the massive financial frauds they conduct at the very top. Their connections with corrupt military has also allowed them to gain access to weapons far out of the reach of ordinary gangs, so it was no surprise when the former director of the FBI said in the 1990s that the Russian mob posed the greatest threat to US national security. Alright, coming in at number 2 now, we've got the MS-13 gang. This gang is often referred to as America's deadliest and is a fierce rival of the 18th Street Gang. They originated in LA in the 1980s as a gang to protect recent Salvadorian immigrants to the city. This street gang has a brutal initiation process which involves potential recruits having to kill rival gangsters and then submit themselves to a beating from the gang. Now, along with the growing amount of murders this gang has committed, officials can visibly see their growth by the gang's graffiti tags appearing all over the world, not just in California. The graffiti tag has been seen as far north as Alaska and over an ocean in Spain. Their main activities include smuggling drugs, weapons and people across borders, and have killed any that stand in their way. Even civilians are killed to send a message to the authorities. And finally, at number 1 now, we have Los Zetas. This Mexican gang is considered by the US to be the most technologically advanced, sophisticated, vicious, ruthlessly violent and dangerous cartel operating in Mexico. And that's saying something. If gangs like the Russian mob play strategic chess to get what they want, these guys just smash up the board. On the street, they behead and slaughter those who stand in their way, and this fearlessness doesn't stop when facing the actual Mexican government. They've been known to break open prisons and free dangerous inmates, they bribe politicians and police, they steal oil from the government and massacre civilians. One of the worst cases of these massacres was a 2010 San Fernando massacre, where the gang killed 72 immigrants from South America because they refused to work for them. Well guys, that was 10 of the most dangerous gangs around. Do you know of any others? Do you want to see a part 2 perhaps? Because there are a lot more out there that are dangerous in very different ways, so let me know if we should do that. But until then, make sure you're subscribed, do all that good stuff like eating your vegetables and drinking your milk. My name is Danny Berg and you've been watching Most Amazing Top 10.